Hello everyone and welcome back to DMG. Today we're doing a comparison of three could be considered lower-end AMD GPUs. The R7 integrated graphics from the FX 9000 generation and the newer Vega 8 integrated graphics. And, just in case the Vega 8 absolutely destroys the R7 in every test, I'm also throwing an RX 560 into the mix, just so we have, kind of a baseline of what like a maximum score would be. I'm recording this intro before I've run the tests, so I I don't know what the scores are going to be, but I'm expecting the R7 on battery to be the worst, then the Vega on battery to be the second worst. Then next up is the R7 plugged in. Next best is the Vega 8 plugged in. And I'm expecting the RX 560 to have a score of a couple hundred points higher than the Vega 8 plugged in. And of course, the RX 560 plugged in, we don't even need to run a test on that because we know it's going to be so much better. But anyway, let's get to the results.
All right. So we've got the Unigine Tropics benchmark pulled up, and we're going to compare it versus the Vega 8 and the Radeon R7. Now, over here is the Vega 8, over there is the R7. That one loaded faster. Looks like we're getting decent FPS, 80s. This one isn't loading very fast at all. Oh, we're getting about the same FPS. Okay, now this one's noticeably better. We're getting over 100 on the Vega 8 on battery, which of course it's throttled slightly. And on the R7 we're getting below 60. Alright, because our benchmark is almost finished, I'm going to go ahead and say, so max FPS on the R7 was 119, on the Vega 8 it was 136. Minimum was 30.4 on the Vega 8, and it was actually higher, 31.5 on the R7 system. So it looks like the R7 is a bit more consistent, but the Vega 8 pumps out better frame rates. Maximum. Oh, looks like our R7 has finished and our Vega 8 is about to. Alright, a score of 1444 versus 1930. Oh, 57.3 versus 76.8. Oh, okay, so man, that's just crazy. On battery and plugged in, and there's still that much of a difference. Alright, I was hoping to give the Vega 8 an advantage, or sorry, slightly disadvantage it, with it being on battery and the R7 being plugged in. But now I've plopped a battery in the R7 system. I'm going to go unplug the charger really quickly. By the way, the system with the R7 is the laptop, the former laptop, bolted to a piece of wood. And the RX 560 is disabled. So all we have running is the R7. Anyway, so now our Vega is plugged in and our R7 is on battery. I want to see just how far ahead the Vega... Oh wow, it loaded very fast that time. The Vega is doing slightly better by about 30 FPS out of the gate. These are both at 1280 by 720, exact same settings. So already our max FPS on this one is 91 and 128. Ooh! We're dropping down into the single digits on the R7. That can't be good. Oh, we're back up to 60, alright. Alright, so the Vega system has finished, a score of 1900, and a score of 1150 on the R7. Oh, that's rough. Oof. Alright, because the Vega absolutely destroyed the R7 in the first round, we're doing RX 560 on battery versus Vega 8 plugged in. Watch the Vega actually win. That would be hilarious. So, as expected, it looks like the RX 560 actually did beat the Vega. But, oh, actually not by much. Only by about 200, only by 4 frames per second. Alright, I was not expecting that. So now we're running the RX 560 plugged in. We don't need the Vega system running the benchmark also because we already have the numbers from it. So far it's performing about 20 FPS better than it did on battery, which is, yeah, look at that, max FPS 226.9, which is quite impressive. It turns out it does throttle a lot on battery. Oh, wow. So, as we kind of expected, the RX 560 on battery completely dominated it. It beat all of the others by about 1,000 points. Which, that was to be expected.
Alright, so we have our test results here. It's, some things were, pretty expected, that the R7 would be awful on battery. And some things were unexpected, like the fact that the RX 560 on battery was actually beaten by the Vega 8 on battery. That was just not expected at all. And I also didn't expect the Vega 8 plugged in to be slightly worse than battery. But I think that was because of thermals. But yeah, the Vega on battery beating the RX 560 on battery was pretty impressive. Now, I do have a visual comparison. I have a little graph. So what I did is I converted the scores to millimeters. And of course, this doesn't apply to minimum or maximum FPS. This is just the unidentropic score, which is based on the average FPS. Now, this is interesting. So, of course, the RX 560 is at the top. So blue means on battery, or sorry, blue means plugged in, green means it's on battery. And results were pretty expected. I actually expected the Radeon R7 plugged in to at least beat the Vega on battery. But no, the Vega on battery was a couple points worse. It was 35 points worse. And again, I think that was because of thermals. So R7 is overall the worst. Vega 8 gets the award for best on battery. At least from these tests. And RX 560, of course, best overall. And we don't talk about the R7. You know what? Actually, those aren't on the table anymore. Also, the worst FPS was 8.2 produced by the R7 on battery. And the best was, of course, the 226.9 from the plugged-in RX 560. But let's talk a bit more about the Vega 8's performance. So, of course, it performed slightly better on battery. However, the max FPS, or the minimum FPS on, but however, uh, the minimum FPS when it was plugged in was slightly greater. Don't know what caused this, but it's interesting to see that happened. Of course, the max FPS is about 10 lower, so that's where the lower score comes from. Then the R7 on battery, it just didn't do very well. Neither did the R7 plugged in. It got a 10 10 FPS or so lower than the Vega 8 plugged in. The R7 actually did perform better as expected when it was plugged in. But, anyway, it's interesting just to see that table and all of that compared. I really just had the RX 560, as I said earlier. I just had it to have like a maximum margin, just in case the Vega 8 absolutely destroyed the R7 in every test, which it did. And the fact that it actually beat the RX 560 in one test was surprising. But yeah, there are our results. Thank you everyone for watching, and that's it for today.